Creators of the life simulation video series The Sims have worked with an LGBT advocacy group, GLAAD, on a new update to the game that will remove gender boundaries from the characters. The Associated Press says the gender-specific clothing, hairstyles, and other features will not be limited to any specific character based on gender. So this is a game, I'm absolutely showing my ignorance on gaming. This is a game that doesn't allow mods, so but you can make these choices where in the past you could not make these choices. Is that what's going on?
Yeah, you know, that was my reaction when I saw this news too. I was like, really? I'm like, this is great, but like, really?
Like in the past you just had to be a boy or a girl, period, and have like boy or girl features.
Yeah, and I remember when the original Sims came out, you know, and this is not new in games. I think it's been in the last several years that game developers have come to terms with the idea that, you know, people who are men want to play female characters, or people who are female want to play male characters, or people, you know, or vice versa, or all combinations. And, you know, what naturally follows then is the idea that, well, you know, if I'm playing a female character, maybe I still want to wear a tuxedo. Why wouldn't I be able to do that, right? Mm-hmm. I think when we first, you know, games as a medium are still maturing to where the idea that, you know, the person who's coding that in the original game is going to be thinking about all those things, right? And not thinking about, like, in terms of databases where, okay, we have X number of pieces of clothing, and we need to figure out a way to organize them. So we're going to make them male and female, and that simplifies the equation, you know, by half, right? So now we need to figure out tops and bottoms. And that's a decision somebody makes when they're making the game. I think we are slowly getting to the point where in games development, people are stopping to think about that before saying the boy avatar is going to be pink or blue and the girl avatar is going to be pink, right? Actually considering that there's a difference, you know, between their experience and the experience of what the player has, or maybe, you know, there's the player expectation is a little bit broader than what they would anticipate. So I think it's great that The Sims now allows female characters to wear male clothing and vice versa. I think it's long overdue. Yeah. And I think it's probably symptomatic of the fact that EA is a massive company and things change slowly.
Yeah. Yes. It is interesting. Like, this was an Associated Press story, and they didn't really point that out. They just said, like, hey, look, isn't it great that they're doing this? But yeah, you make a really good point. Like, why did it take you so long?
Especially on a game that is so customizable around persona, right? And around people, that you would imagine that anyone might want to dress, you know, any way they choose. And yeah, it's very strange that was not a feature before now, but happy that it's there. Finally, there's a story of a woman who took to Facebook to message Dream Games, developers of a game called Operation Caucasus. The developer said those who wanted a key for early access to the game could contact them and they would get a key for early access. But apparently the woman's avatar, Facebook avatar, was upsetting to the person managing the account. What happened here, Russ?
Yeah, so this was a person who wanted to take advantage of Dream Games' offer for a free code, and using the Steam service, you have an avatar and you have a profile, and the developer apparently saw that this person's avatar was in support of LGBT rights, and told them in very firm language to F off. We do not support LGBT rights, and you are not getting a code from us, right? So there's a couple issues there. I think number one, you have that that interaction, right? That game developer offering to make a code available to anyone, and then deciding to deny it to that one particular person. I guess that's their right. I don't know. But I probably wouldn't have phrased it in that way, or you know, or maybe that's not really great public relations to A, do that, and then B, do it, you know, with such vigor, let's say. So I think, you know, so the player then wanted to make this known or express their displeasure, in which you can't comment on a games page if you don't have that game in your library. So they borrowed a friend's code. They took to become a player of the game according to the Steam system, and then left their feedback explaining what happened. So I think it's unfortunate. We're seeing that, and this ties into what we were talking about earlier, right? The more these civil rights struggles become present in mainstream society, the more they sort of trickle into different corners of media and in game development, we're seeing things like this, where apparently this person manning that Steam page just really had a problem with LGBT rights and issues, which I guess is their privilege. But to react in that way was pretty vile, and I think it. They seem to have apologized later. There was an update that the company apologized and promised to. Did they say they were actually going to go ahead and fire the person? I know they promised to take action.
They said they did. They said we fired the editor and managing director from the team for the incident, and it won't happen again.
And it won't happen again. It's been interesting, I'll tell you what, it's been interesting in games the last few years as some of these political debates have trickled into the community, and groups of players have polarized around one side or another. I'm a little surprised that this didn't turn into a touch point and launch another wave of that debate. I'm glad it didn't, and it seems like the developers' quick action in rectifying and dealing with that particular person maybe helped solve them some pain.
Yeah,
saved them from some pain.
This might be another too big of a question to answer this quickly, but I mean, it's not difficult to find horrible corners everywhere in the internet. And like you said, the last couple of years in gaming have been very difficult. Do you think it's still worse than other places in the internet, or do you think it's gotten better and it's similar to just any day we could go to any community on the internet and find someone that's being horrible to someone else? Or do you think that the gaming community is still a little bit worse than other places in the internet?
That's a really interesting question. I've actually been thinking about that a lot recently. And the more I think about it, the more I come to think that it's not worse. And it's not inherently worse anyway. I think it's easy to be in the gaming community and to see more of these types of behaviors and to be affected by them. And I think it's possible for it to feel worse. But what I think is happening is that it's not that these are not behaviors that are inherent to the gaming community, and they're certainly not the only place in the world or the internet even where people act and behave in terrible ways. I think by the nature of the gaming community, people are encouraged to come together. This is where we come together and play together in teams of like 10 or 16 or hundreds even, depending on the game. So I think there's a sort of natural tendency in the gamer community to be open to connecting with others in a way that maybe other communities don't allow, right? Like by watching a film, you're only exposing yourself to like the 50 or other people that can fit into that theater, right? But playing an online game or being part of an online game community, you're open to communication all over the world. And I think that combined with the prevalence of gaming in society today, more and more people are gamers. I think it's something like 125 million, according to one statistic I read. That's a lot of people playing games. So I think the more people we have playing games, and the easier it is for those people to interact with each other, we're just by virtue going to be exposed to a lot of different opinions, some of which are terrible.
Yeah. Welcome to the internet, unfortunately, I think is the answer to that question.
Yep.
But yeah, hopefully at least there's an awareness. There's a growing awareness now, and that's that's in many ways the beginning of kind of a better scenario all around. So at least there's that.